Good afternoon, and welcome to this important event where the Campaign for College Opportunity recognizes courageous leaders in California who have done monumental work against all kinds of adversity to advance the equity agenda in higher ed. I'm Sonia Christian, the Chancellor of the Kern Community College District and a proud member of the campaign's board of directors. Do you know the story of the Campaign for College Opportunity? In 2002, Steve Weiner and David Wolf, the two founders of the campaign, attended a meeting on financing higher ed, where the message was fatalistic, that nothing could be done despite universal recognition that California was facing a looming access crisis in higher ed. On the drive back from that meeting held at UC Berkeley, the two friends pondered, could it be that California's communities of color in particular were losing their right to achieve economic self-sufficiency? The campaign website describes how, from that conversation, the idea was born for a broad-based coalition of unprecedented character and size that would include business, labor, ethnic group leadership, religious groups, and civic organizations, all working together to ensure that all of California's students had the opportunity to attend college. That spark, which started with an inspired conversation between two friends in 2002, is now a fearless force that burns brightly with commitment to equity in college opportunity. When you reflect on bold legislation that has changed opportunities for our disadvantaged students, you always see the telltale signs of the campaign's work, taking on established power bases, recalibrating new norms and new policies, and bringing prominently into the picture those who have historically been invisible. It is due to the campaign's committed work that in October 2021, we saw transformative higher ed policy wins like AB 928, AB 1111, the Cal Grant expansion. Before I conclude my remarks, I do want to recognize and thank our signature sponsors for making this work possible. The Michelson Center for Public Policy and the Michelson 20mm Foundation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And our additional sponsors, AT&T and the Women's Foundation. And now let me introduce you to the leader of the campaign, a smart, strong woman who fights hard, and she fights with passion. A fierce fan of the Dodgers, she creates a fun working environment for the fabulous staff of the small but mighty team at the campaign, and she genuinely engages board members as thought partners in the work of higher education equity. Friends, I give you Michelle Siqueiros.
Thank you so much, Sonia, for that incredible introduction. I'm going to take you on the road. Just like David Wolf and Steve Weiner, who were incredible visionaries and leaders in higher education, I am blessed to have an incredible board of directors, including Sonia Christian, that contribute to our excellence, who give us that fierce fire in the belly to continue to do good work. So thank you for that. I'm Michelle Siqueiros, president here at the Campaign for College Opportunity. It's really my pleasure to introduce our first award this evening. But before I do that, I get to share with you an incredible, beautiful piece of art that each and every one of our honorees is going to receive by a good friend, an LA-based Chicano artist and educator, Jose Ramirez. You may recognize this artwork was featured on the cover of the State of Higher Education for Latinx Californians. Each honoree is going to receive a copy of this, and I get to break the good news like Oprah Winfrey does. Each one of you who are attending this meeting will get a small piece of this copy of artwork, which I think each of you will enjoy. So I get to introduce our first award, the Distinction in Higher Education, Vision and Investment, I think each of you know that having a bold vision for higher education is critical to ensuring greater equity for all of our students. Our mission continues to be to expand access for every single Californian and to close the racial gaps that persist. But vision is certainly not enough. In this last year, however, we've gotten to see that vision and action do go hand in hand with Governor Gavin Newsom, who has really dedicated and focused both his budget priorities and his policy solutions in ensuring really a greater higher education experience for our students, greater opportunity, and really a boldness in attacking racial equity gaps. Last year, Governor Newsom made historic, bold investments in higher education. And as Sonia mentioned earlier, signed historic bills that are really going to transform and improve the transfer process for California, both carried by Assemblymember Berman, who we also honor and celebrate today. And while we selected this recognition for the governor prior to his announcement of the 2022 budget proposal, we are so incredibly thrilled by the multi-year investment that is in this budget proposal by the governor for funding of our colleges and universities in a way that ensures greater access for Californians, and that also makes it very clear that we must and should make the pathway to college better for our students, and that we must once and for all close those equity gaps. Of course, we always do this work in alignment with our student leaders and advocates. They're the reason we do it. They inspire us every single day. And I'd like to introduce Alexis Zaragoza, who joins me today in presenting this honor to Governor Gavin Newsom. Thank you, Alexis.
Thank you, Michelle. Hello, everyone. My name is Alexis Asileski Zaragoza. I'm a native and Chicana student at UC Berkeley, and I'm currently a regent on the UC Board of Regents, as well as previously being on the California Community Colleges Board of Governors. I was graduating Modesto Junior College when Gavin Newsom first came into office. I'd been serving on the California Community Colleges Board of Governors for a year at that point, and conversations around redesigning the system of higher education as we knew it was becoming a common goal. Some things that we began advocating for were a clear and unified path for transfer students into the CSU and UC, a cost of living adjustment for zero EFC community college students, reforming Cal Grant to not deny students based on age and years out of high school. And when Newsom began his term, he made a promise to be a fierce advocate for higher education, and that he was going to pull through for college students across the state. Each year, by signing key bills and enforcing policy through budgetary support, he has continued to do just that. In this past year alone, Newsom has dedicated his signature and his budget proposals to critical ongoing support for multiple years for all of our systems, changes to Cal Grant that, even if it's not fully funded yet, will hopefully eventually be, and will be making immediate changes that are resulting in life-changing monetary support for hundreds of students, support for former foster youth, supporting part-time faculty in our community college system, renovating outdated technical infrastructure in our colleges, and a promise to continue long-term and intersegmental efforts to bridge our multiple university systems into operating in sync. In my final year of undergrad at UC Berkeley and sitting on the UC Board of Regents now, I would have never imagined we would get this far in just a few years. It is with great gratitude and excitement that I present Governor Gavin Newsom with his Dean's List distinction in higher education, vision, and investment.
Hey, everybody. It's Governor Gavin Newsom. And let me just first thank Michelle and Alexis. I'm very honored. Thank you, guys. I'm very honored to receive this award today. And I just want to congratulate all my colleagues in the legislature on the awards they're receiving as well. You know, I think we all agree for decades, our system of higher education, been the engines of the California dream, that conveyor belt, as some describe it, for talent. Now we're seizing the opportunity to expand college access, affordability, and success for all Californians. Last year, we made an unprecedented investment, $47 billion higher education package to make college more affordable, improve graduation rates, and to help eliminate those equity gaps. We continue that work. And recently I had the privilege of signing legislation that will make it far easier, for example, for community college students to transfer to four-year universities. And this year, we're tripling down on that work. Not only investing more, but we're launching a new multi-year framework that will provide unprecedented funding and support with specific prescriptive goals, with more accountability and transparency for our system of higher education. And by the way, that includes a brand new degree completion goal for the state of 70%. And so we're counting on you. We're counting on your partnership to ensure that these plans and these investments manifest into, well, outcomes and real concrete benefits for Californians today and, of course, into the future. All California students, and this is what unites, I think, all of us, is that all California students deserve access to our higher education system. This is inherent to the California dream, and the California dream must once again become the California promise. So thank you again for this award and for your extraordinary and tireless work to expand college opportunity for all Californians.
Thank you, Governor Newsom. I would now like to introduce Dr. Michelson to present our next award. Dr. Gary Michelson is the founder of the Michelson 20 Million Minds Foundation and the Michelson Center for Public Policy. He's a retired orthopedic spinal surgeon, an inventor with more than 900 patents to his name, and a leading philanthropist. More importantly, he's been a tireless higher education advocate, working to advance an equity agenda over the past decade, and is a close partner to the Campaign for College Opportunity.
Michelle, thank you and the campaign for all that you have already done. And it's our pleasure to join you in celebrating Sacramento's leading champions for equity in higher education. The governor and our legislators, and in particular those that we are honoring today, have been courageously leading the charge on advancing landmark laws to assure that all of California students have a fair chance to succeed. This last year, the Michelson 20 Million Minds Foundation and the Michelson Center for Public Policy had the honor of working alongside dozens of partners to secure two critical pieces of legislation. First, we'd like to thank Governor Newsom and the legislature for the historic $115 million allocation in the state budget to drive down the abusive costs of textbooks and make possible zero textbook cost degrees. And secondly, we would all like to applaud Senator Ben Wayso for his leadership in the passage of SB 416, which will ensure that incarcerated students across California's prisons will receive high-quality classroom-based instruction and be protected against predatory for-profit entities following the reinstatement of Pell Grants. The Michelson Foundations had the privilege to work with Michelle at the Campaign for College Opportunity to produce the Possibility Report, From Prison to College Degrees in California, which outlined a series of recommendations for campuses and the state to address the barriers in California's educational system and to create more equitable opportunities for incarcerated and formerly incarcerated students to be educated, improve their lives, the lives of their families, and contribute to California's future economic well-being all at the same time. But the real credit goes to Senator Ben Wayso, the legislature, and the governor for actually making it happen. The author of the report was Danny Murillo. But before I introduce him, I would like to share a quick thought. On May 6, 1954, Roger Bannister became the first man to burst through the seemingly impossible barrier of the 4-minute mile. But just 46 days later, that record fell, and within the year, many other runners repeated the feat. In 1996, California enacted its own stringent auto emission standards. That led to the production of 49 state cars and California cars. But in short order, the manufacturers realized it would be less expensive for them to just produce all of their cars to California's more stringent standards. And the result was that California de facto set the auto emission standards for the entire country. In example after example, California has been the tip of the spear, the state that has, against the odds, chosen to do the right thing and to bravely go where no other state has gone before it. California is the Roger Bannister of our time, leading the way for other states to follow. I would now like to introduce a truly remarkable person, Danny Murillo. I'm supposed to recite a list of Danny's accomplishments and recognitions. There's not enough time. Despite the circumstances that landed Danny in prison, and much of it in solitary confinement, Through his own hard work, he was able to educate himself sufficiently to go on to receive an associate's degree from Cerritos College, a bachelor's degree from Berkeley, and he is currently in a graduate studies program at Cal State Long Beach. He is the recipient of the John Gardner Fellowship for Public Service, the Soros Fellowship for Justice Advocacy, and he is currently the Smart Justice Fellow at the Michelson 20 Million Minds Foundation. Please welcome Danny Murillo.
Thank you, Dr. Michelson, and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today as we celebrate and honor this year's Legislative Dean's List recipients. I want to thank the Campaign for College Opportunity for the invitation to honor Senator Ben Weso for his commitment to providing pipelines to college opportunity for incarcerated students. In 2005, I arrived at the Security Housing Unit at Pelican Bay State Prison, where I would remain in solitary confinement for the remainder of my sentence. It wasn't long before the men who were in the same isolation pod with me encouraged me to take advantage of the limited educational resources available in the SHU. During this time, college programs for the general prison population were minimal. However, community colleges were offered a correspondence program in the SHU. Little did I know that higher education was a spark that brought the light into the darkness of my cell. The desire to change, combined with the supportive community of individuals who saw in me what I could not see in myself, my humanity, inspired me to be proactive about my education. I created an education program with limited resources available that focused on developing my critical thinking skills, playing chess, listening to Democracy Now!, Latino USA, watching thought-provoking TV like Bill Moyer's Journal, Independent Lens, and Point of View. These activities were instrumental in helping me maintain my sanity in solitary confinement. However, what kept me motivated was the possibility of being a college student on campus. How would I make that happen? I had no idea, because I was not assigned an academic or career counselor to help me prepare for my academic and life transition. The same way I had to figure out how to navigate community college while incarcerated, I had to figure out my transition from Pelican Bay SHU to Cerritos College. Because of Senate Bill 416 that many of you helped pass, quality face-to-face instruction from local accredited colleges and universities will be prioritized before other learning modalities. The transition gap between incarcerated students and the counselors who can guide them to a better life will be bridged. Higher education will be prioritized over prison work details, and prison education programs will be required to inform incarcerated students how to continue their education once released from prison. I want to thank the Legal Services for Prisoners with Children, the Michelson Center for Public Policy, Project Rebound Consortium, Berkeley Underground Scholars, and the Campaign for College Opportunity for their steadfast support of this bill. Once again, I want to thank you, Senator Ben Weso, for your dedication and support in providing pipelines to college opportunities for incarcerated students. This bill will change lives. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate being honored this way, and thank you for the award that I hold here. This is the award. But congratulations also to Danny Murillo, and also we're all very proud of you and your grit and determination and in overcoming enormous barriers, enormous boundaries. Not many people overcome as much as you have to come as far as you have. And all of you have worked so hard to guide the legislature and the community in terms of what policies we should work on. Policies change with elections, all of you know. And California has come a long way. I came from sharing a lot of your perspectives several years back, wondering, can California rebound? California was being accused of losing its golden luster. And as the innovation state, we cannot survive with a quality education system. Many of you know innovation is less possible without education. I'm very proud over my work in the last 12 years, some of the things that we worked on in the last 12 years. I've always supported fully funding Prop 98. In many cases, we surpassed Prop 98 levels. Like in 2011 and 2012, we actually funded well above the Prop 98 levels to make sure that we didn't make cuts to education. So as long as I've been working in the legislature, this legislature and previous ones never ever made any cuts to education, and that is remarkable. because we had one of the lowest budgets in our state's history in 2010 and 2011. Also, working to reduce funding disparities. There are some parts of the state that provide more money per pupil funding than others because of our tax structures and the way we finance education. More affluent communities have more money for their students than poor communities. And I was very proud to be part of a working group that came up with the new funding methodology that reduced these funding disparities. Although we still have much work to be done to ensure that every single student in California has the same opportunity to receive the same education, we have made some tremendous gains. Also, we strengthened the educational delivery framework, expanding access to higher education, creating new campuses and programs. So I'm very proud of our work. I'm very proud of this legislature and this governor. And we have one more year to work on addressing these issues. And I look forward to working with you this year. Thank you.
Congratulations again, Senator Hueso. And I want to commend you on having one of the best outdoor backgrounds in accepting your award. Good evening. My name is Jessie Ryan, and I'm Executive Vice President at the Campaign for College Opportunity. And as you know, the campaign has had a long-standing commitment to fixing the broken transfer system, starting with historic change in 2010 to create the Associate Degree for Transfer, guaranteeing admission to the CSU system, and continuing efforts to untangle the transfer maze in 2021 through AB 928 and AB 1111, work that could not have been done without the courageous leadership, the commitment, and the dedication to comprehensive transformation that we saw from our next honoree. It is my great pleasure to present the distinction in transforming transfer to Assemblymember Mark Berman, who emerged as a star championing Master Plan 1960 Select Committee work to delve into the systemic inequities plaguing student pathways. If it had not been for his willingness to dig in and pursue this type of transformational policy, we would not be sitting with you this evening. I also want to thank the student leaders who were the voices behind pushing for transfer to continue to rise to the top of priorities in creating racial equity and access, as well as opportunity for all students across the state. It's my pleasure to introduce one student who led the way, Tariq, who has been Azim, who has been a student leader, a fierce voice as the UC Davis transfer student and vice chair of governmental relations at UC Student Association. We are so grateful to have you share your gratitude with Assemblymember Berman for his work.
Thank you, Jessie, for that amazing introduction. Once again, my name is Tariq Azim, and I'm a fourth-year student at UC Davis. A little over 4 years ago, I wasn't eligible to apply to a UC. I didn't meet the GPA requirement. After 2 years at Chaffey College, I transferred to UC Davis, and I'm now getting ready to graduate less than 5 months from now. Community college was more than just a second chance to me. It was the best choice, and it was my gateway to a high-quality, low-cost education. But even then, I still faced challenges in navigating the transfer process. While I personally could transfer within the 2-year timeframe, this is not the reality for many of our students. 19% of students transfer within 4 years, and 28% transfer within 6 years. The transfer system is broken. It's complex, inequitable, and gatekeeps marginalized communities in California. It is in the UCSA's mission statement to advocate for the accessibility, affordability, and quality of the UC system. So of course, we happily co-sponsored AB 928 and led advocacy efforts for students throughout the state. A coalition of transfer student leaders from all 3 higher education segments voiced our support for this progressive bill because we knew, based on our experiences and the students we advocate for, that this would genuinely transform transfer. Thank you so much to Assemblymember Berman for always being a strong higher education advocate by pursuing policies that increase access to educational opportunities in California. A lot of hard work went into the passage of AB 928, and I know many of us are excited to see its implementation. Once again, thank you so much for your leadership, and I am now proud to present Assemblymember Mark Berman with his Dean's List distinction in Transforming Transfer.
Thank you so much, Tarek. Really appreciate that. And thank you, Jesse, for your kind words. And thank you so much for this awesome award that I can't wait to put up on my office walls here in the new kind of quasi-capital that we have here in Sacramento. I'm so honored to be here today to join such a distinguished group of recipients who have demonstrated their commitment to increasing college opportunity for all California students. I want to thank the Campaign for College Opportunity for this recognition and for their effective and continued advocacy on behalf of student voices. It is especially meaningful for me to have Tarek present this award. As a transfer student, he knows firsthand the challenges that too many students face. Over the last 5 years, I've held hearings across California to discuss higher education issues from Sacramento to Fresno to Riverside to Zoom. And when students discussed their experience with the transfer process from community college to four-year university, their message was loud and clear. Transfer is broken. It's too complex, confusing, and difficult to navigate. Instead of being a clear path, it's a maze. And it's costing students time and money that they can't afford. 70% of first-time community college students say they want to transfer to a four-year university. However, only 19% of students with a transfer goal successfully transfer within 4 years, and only 28% transfer within 6 years. This is absolutely unacceptable, and it was a call to action to transform transfer. Last year, I authored 2 bills to do just that. AB 928, the Student Transfer Achievement Reform Act of 2021, which reimagines transfer from the student perspective. It removes barriers to the successful but underutilized associate degree for transfer and establishes a single general education pathway that meets transfer admission to both CSU and UC. And AB 1111, which removes another transfer barrier by requiring comparable community college classes to have the same course number, reducing student confusion. And I'm thrilled that Governor Newsom's recent budget proposal doubles down on these transformational higher education reforms with substantial funding to implement both bills. I'm so grateful to all of our supporters of these bills, and especially the co-sponsors, the Campaign for College Opportunity, Lieutenant Governor Kounalakis, Cal State Student Association, UC Student Association, and the Student Senate for California Community Colleges. To Michelle, Jesse, and the whole Campaign for College Opportunity team, thank you for your partnership and for this honor. I remember when my legislative director, Ellen Green, who also deserves a huge shout out, first brought the idea for 928 to me about a year ago. And it was 3 distinct parts. And Ellen asked me which one I wanted to pick. And I said all 3. And that's exactly what we did. And our partnership was able to make this effort successful. So I look forward to continuing to work together in the years ahead. And most importantly, to the students. You inspired these transformative changes. And I share this award with all of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Assemblymember Berman, and congratulations again. We are so grateful for your willingness to not just tackle a component of the necessary reform, but to tackle it all together to truly move from tinkering on the margins to doing what's right for students. It's my great pleasure to now talk about our Access to College Opportunity for All Distinction Award. It's so appropriate because, as we know, if we are going to close racial equity gaps and meet future workforce needs, we have to ensure that all students across the state have access to A through G curriculum in high school. Our next awardee, Senator Connie Leyva, has been a strong and unwavering voice on behalf of these issues. It was her sheer force on years of work that she put into her leadership in Senate Education Committee that saw forward a significant investment in an access incentive grant for students across the state. We also want to thank the College for All Coalition, who, working alongside Senator Leyva, made this transformational policy a reality. And with that, I have the pleasure of introducing a student who we think embodies what we are trying to accomplish with ensuring equitable access. Amelia Flores, a West Campus senior at Sacramento City, and an example of what's possible when you have access to A through G courses.
Good evening. My name is Amelia Flores, and I'm currently a senior at West Campus High School in the Sacramento City Unified School District. I am very fortunate to attend school in a district that offers all A through G courses and actively encourages all of its students to broaden their options post-high school and strive towards a college degree if that aligns with their goals. At the start of my freshman year, my school counselors told us that we were automatically enrolled in A through G courses, which were required to be admitted to a CSU or UC. I found myself relieved that this was done for us because I had not known about A through G requirements before then. The easy access that I had to A through G courses took some of the responsibility off of my shoulders because I knew that I did not have to worry about that particular aspect of applying to college. This past fall, when it came time for me to apply to college, I not only had all of my A through G requirements covered, but I also had access to a knowledgeable college counselor through my school. I was able to schedule meetings with my counselor for quick questions or long chats, and it made the process much less daunting. I know that this access to help has encouraged people I know to reconsider applying to college when they previously thought they would not, or that opportunity just wasn't available for them. Throughout my district and throughout California, students like me who are currently underrepresented in college populations are benefiting immensely from this increased help and access. I would like to thank Senator Leyva for moving forward policy that ensures that students throughout California can succeed with the tools they are given in school. And I am honored to present the Distinction in Expanding College Access for All Award to Senator Leyva.
Thank you, Amelia. And thank you also to Jesse for both of those lovely introductions. And Amelia, you are exactly who this bill is for and about. Good evening. I'm Connie Leyva, and I'm proud to be the chair of Senate Education. And I'm so proud to be with all of you and the other award recipients. I get an F because I left my beautiful award in my office. But I have to say thank you because it is beautiful. And, don't tell other folks, but the little glass awards, I mean, they're fine, but the picture is beautiful and it's got people. And that's why you run for offices, to take care of people. So thank you for the award and for the honor. And I just have to say about SB 309, which got absorbed into the budget, and $547 million for these grants. When I first heard that not every student in the state of California had access to A through G classes, I was like, oh, really? Oh, okay, maybe it's, maybe a school here or a school there. 49% of our high school students did not have access and do not have access to A through G credits. And to realize that means that these folks, mostly in communities of color, would, no matter if they were the valedictorian of their class, no matter if they 4.0, that they would not have access to a CSU or a UC. I just found it appalling. So it was absolutely my pleasure to get to work on this bill, to see it absorbed into the budget. That's fine. I wish I could point to SB 309 and say that was my bill. But at the end of the day, it's about making sure the right thing happens. So I'm thrilled that the governor did that. And candidly, we got about double the amount of money that we were hoping to get. So I really hope that we will be able to make sure every single school is able to use that money, get those grants, get folks educated, to the teachers to teach those classes, because our high school students, they're just our future. And that's one of the things I really love about being the chair of Senate Education, is we get to work on both K through 12 and then higher education. So I feel like I have the opportunity to really see things through. I want to thank all of our bill sponsors, Asian Americans Advancing Justice Coalition, the College for All Coalition. We could not have done it without all of you, and we could not have done it without the students who supported the process. And really, I have to say, if you want something done, ask the students, because they're more articulate than most of us and more passionate. So I just want to say thank you. It's an honor to be honored, and let's keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Leyva, for your lifelong commitment to education access for all. My name is Sarah Arce, Vice President of Policy and Advocacy for the Campaign for College Opportunity. I am proud to present this next award to our longtime partner to the campaign and champion for student success. If you're a friend of the campaign, she needs no introduction. The Distinction in Statewide Higher Education Leadership Award recognizes a commitment to intersegmental coordination, higher education state leadership, and meaningful statewide goals for student success. Assemblymember Irwin receives this award for her strong commitment to the launch of California's first cradle-to-career data system and the inclusion of diverse voices from across the state to inform its development. Her bold vision for higher education leadership was informed by numerous advisory groups over the last year, including partners like You Aspire, who developed the next generation of student leaders. That is why I'm proud to introduce Rochelle Czar, a Sacramento State transfer student, former You Aspire Fellow, SoCalCan Basic Needs Research Fellow, and graduate of the campaign's Student Leadership Institute, to present our next award. Rochelle.
Thank you, Sarah, and the campaign for the opportunity to present this award today. As a Bakersfield College transfer student, I benefited from having my student data shared with the CSU Sac State, as I was able to obtain scholarships and priority registration. This made the transfer experience smooth, and every student should have a streamlined process in transitioning between institutions. The Cradle to Career data system and the work Assemblymember Irwin has moved forward will ensure this. Implementing strong data sharing is only possible through strong policy implementation, like the efforts Assemblymember Irwin is leading. You have shown tremendous statewide leadership in higher education through your ability to bring all stakeholders to the decision-making table, including students, advocates, system leaders, policymakers, and others. It is so important to create an inclusive and a diverse environment when developing meaningful higher education policy. The development of racially equitable higher education policy requires students, community guidance, and input. Having served as an You Aspire policy fellow myself, I have seen firsthand the impact of our voice in policymaking spaces, from AB 705 to the Cradle to Career data system. Thank you, Assemblymember Irwin, for including groups like You Aspire, the Student Senate for California Community Colleges, and K-12 districts institutions in the development of the Cradle to Career data system and the participation in advisory groups. Thank you for your long-standing leadership in higher education and for continuing to serve on the Cradle to Career Governing Board, leading equitable placement policy implementation efforts and supporting student success in years to come.
Well, thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Rochelle. The students throughout this entire process, whether we're talking about Cradle to Career or AB 705, have truly been critical. And I want to thank the amazing team at the Campaign for College Opportunity for this honor. Working with the campaign to pass AB 705 and transform remedial education in the California community colleges is one of my proudest achievements as a legislator, and directly led to my interest in improving our statewide student-level data infrastructure. AB 705 proves that these key transition points between segments of education are where structural barriers can create the most significant and longest-lasting inequities. Passing 705 also proved that progress is possible, even when it is so difficult to change the old ways of doing something, if you just let the data and student voices lead the conversation. As an engineer by training, I know that data has the power to cut through noise and create a shared set of facts, which is absolutely crucial if we are to engage in good faith discussions that result in more equitable policies. Over the past several years, working on the Cradle to Career Planning Group and implementing legislation, I took great pains to ensure that the Cradle to Career data system was structured in a way such that no one was left out, and the information is useful to a broad range of stakeholders, especially those without prior familiarity with data systems. Those who are in the greatest need often do not have the time or ability to testify before the legislature or to show up at their local board meeting, which is why we ultimately decided to create a separate community engagement advisory board. One of the highest priorities during my service on the Career to Cradle Governing Board will be ensuring that we meet the needs of end users, the students, parents, and counselors, and that the system ultimately fulfills its role as a powerful public resource for researchers, policymakers, and practitioners alike. Thank you again to the campaign for your continued support on these issues, and I look forward to continuing to work with you to meet our statewide education goals.
Thank you again, Assemblymember Irwin. My name is Joshua Hagan, Senior Manager of Policy and Student Success Initiatives here at the Campaign for College Opportunity. It is my pleasure to present the Distinction in Courageous Pandemic Response Award to one of the most courageous and influential leaders in California. Former Assemblymember Lorena Gonzalez led the Assembly Appropriations Committee during her last term in the legislature with immense grace and courage as our state faced difficult choices around funding and investments. Through her leadership, we saw the courage to prioritize investing in and protecting students across the state during the pandemic.
Thank you, Josh. So before we present the award, it's my honor to speak on the legacy of one of the state's greatest champions for student access and racial equity in higher education, former Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez. Throughout her time as Appropriations Chair, the former Assemblywoman was a champion for accessibility to California's public higher education segments. She ensured the passage of numerous pieces of transformational legislation throughout the chamber, including her own AB 104 last year. As many of us know, that bill, by allowing students graduating high school to request letter grades be changed to pass no pass on their college transcripts, helped minimize the impact of educational setbacks and equities resulting from the pandemic, and ensure that many more students could access higher education. AB 104 was just one of the many examples of the former Assemblywoman's tireless, years-long commitment to ensuring that all students could access and succeed in college. We are all profoundly grateful for the legacy of dedication and service that she leaves behind. And now I'm proud to present former Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez with her Dean's List distinctions in a courageous pandemic response.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Alex. I am sad to say that former Assemblymember Lorena Gonzalez let us know a few minutes ago that she will not be able to join us this evening due to a family emergency. We want to congratulate her again on this award, but we also want to send our love and encouragement as she navigates these very challenging times. We look forward to continuing to partner with her in her new role moving forward. And with that, we're going to move to our final award of the evening. It has been said that for every effective policymaker stands a remarkable staff member helping to lead, guide, and inform the work that they do day in, day out. Knowing that, it's fitting that we close our evening recognizing one such remarkable Capitol staff member. It is my pleasure to introduce our distinction in student-centered policy response to Janice Warden Washington. I have had the pleasure of working with Janice for more than a decade, as she has led with dedication, with tremendous commitment, and with an understanding that the data needs to be taken alongside a meaningful ability to pull in student voice and student experience to inform our best policy making. We are grateful to say that in 10 years of leadership on the Assembly Higher Ed Committee, both as a consultant and then as chief consultant, Janice has had her hands in most significant policy and transformational reform being moved forward in the state of California this past decade. She also knows that the best policy has to come with an ability to make a seat at the table for students to help inform that policy. And as such, it is my pleasure to turn it over to our final student who will present Janice with our award, Isaac Alceros, who is both the California Student Senate Association president and a CSU Fullerton student who knows firsthand the value of having a staff champion like Janice in the Capitol.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. My name is Isaac Alferos, and I have the honor to represent the nearly 500,000 students of the California State University as this year's president of the Cal State Student Association. CSSA is a student-led organization whose mission is to engage students in state, federal, and system-wide policymaking to improve the lives of our students. And I can think of no one more deserving for the Student-Centered Policy Design Award than Janice Warden-Washington. Janice is no stranger to CSSA. In fact, she's been one of our fiercest advocates in the legislature. From her work on AB 928 to better support transfer students, to working with the coalition of student-led organizations to modernize Cal Grant via AB 1456, Janice always centers and uplifts the student voice. She has worked with us and the chair of the Assembly Higher Education Committee to secure 2 voting student trustees on the CSU Board of Trustees. It is not just in her policy design, though, that Janice is deserving of this award, but also in her genuine care and desire to work with and collaborate with students. So thank you, Janice, for always meeting students where we are and advocating for our best interests. So now I am proud to present Ms. Janice Warden-Washington with their Dean's List distinction in student-centered policy design.
Thank you, Isaac and Jesse and Chair Ben Simon, the entire board of directors, its amazing executive team, the entire staff of the Campaign for College Opportunity. I truly thank you for bestowing this award upon me, and I am beyond speechless and honored. I will say, though, a few remarks. In the words of John F. Kennedy, let us think of education as the means of developing our greatest abilities, because in each of us there is a dream which, fulfilled, can be translated into benefit for everyone and greater strength for our nation. Working on statewide student-centered higher education policies is one way in which I seek to do my part to ensure students reach their potential, fulfill their dreams, and make this state and nation a better place. Effective statewide policymaking cannot be accomplished individually or in silos. I am thankful to the chair of the Assembly Higher Education Committee, Assemblymember Jose Medina, the amazing committee staff, Kevin Powers, Ellen Cesaretti Monroy, and Karen Teal, as well as the rest of the Assembly Higher Education Legislative Staffers Squad, as I like to say, Monica Hinestrosa, Mark Martin, and Natasha Collins. And I just want to take a quick moment and give a shout out to my amazing family and my husband and just several close friends and supporters that are also on this, celebrating this moment with me, because they're there behind the scenes when sometimes it's midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still cranking out and working on analyses and really trying to figure out what is the best policy. So I thank them as well. As you heard Jesse say, I'm embarking on my 10th year as being fortunate to work for the Higher Education Committee, and it remains a privilege and honor to serve the legislature, our golden state, and its almost 40 million inhabitants. But even more so, it's over 2.7 million enrolled college students and the millions yet to attend. I constantly ask myself, as I craft and analyze policies, what will the impact be on students and faculty? And I proceed to engage with students and faculty. It's not enough to say students matter and never engage with them during the policymaking process. It is critical to have them at the table from the beginning so that the policies are truly student-focused with their involvement and engagement from the inception of a policy and all throughout the entire process. So from working on policy issues that created much needed summer courses for students to during a time when there weren't any and students were needing them, to emergency aid for students in dire need, to temporary housing for homeless and foster youth students, to multiple measures for course placement, to transforming the transfer process, and so much more. It remains an honor and privilege to have shaped many student-focused statewide policies and reforms, many that have been codified and now are law. But my work is not complete. This year, I will continue to work with my chair and Senator Leyva on financial aid policy reform, ensuring students have their total cost of attendance addressed, and working on a path towards a debt-free higher education. It will also be exciting to continue to work on affordable student housing. No student should be unhoused or rely on the hospitality of friends and sleep on a bumpy, uncomfortable couch as they seek to earn a college degree or certificate. I remain unequivocally committed to continuing to lift up and affirm our students, ensuring to the best of my ability that policies that affect our students are indeed student-focused. And again, I say thank you.
Amazing, Janice. Thank you for those words and remarks. My name is Edward Bush, and I have the pleasure of serving as president of Cosumnes River College. We are just a couple of days from having honored the legacy and life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And given that his words are still very much fresh and top of mind and within my spirit. And so what comes to mind as I listen to the awardees and the work that they have been doing is this quote from Dr. King that I think truly encapsulates the essence and the spirit of what it is that you have done. And he said this, he said, "It is always the right time to do what is right." It is always the right time to do what is right. So we thank you for not choosing to do the thing that is easy. We thank you for not doing the thing that is more politically expedient. We thank you for not doing only the things that are popular. Thank you for not allowing the agenda around racial justice and racial equity not to fall in the back burner of the COVID pandemic. Many people see the issue of racial justice and equity as just one of the issues to deal with, and not understanding that racial equity is not about a moment in time, but it's about an evolutionary movement that must remain on the forefront of our work. So tonight, we not only honor you for the work that you have done, but we honor you for the mindset and the position that you take in understanding that there's more work to do. So we thank you for doing what is right for our state, what is right for our people, and most importantly, what is right for those who are absent of power and of voice, because you have truly stood in the gap. So we applaud you and we thank you and we honor you this evening. Blessings to you and your continued effort in fighting for racial and social justice in the state of California.